The Prime Minister of New Zealand is the head of government of New Zealand. The incumbent Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, leader of the New Zealand Labour Party, took office on the 26th of October 2017. The Prime Minister ranks as the most senior government minister. They are responsible for chairing meetings of cabinet, allocating posts to ministers within the government, acting as the spokesperson for the government, and providing advice to the sovereign or the sovereign's representative, the Governor-General. They also have ministerial responsibility for the department of the Prime Minister and Cabinet. The office exists by a long-established convention, which originated in New Zealand's former colonial power, the then United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. The convention stipulates that the Governor-General must select as Prime Minister the person most likely to command the support or confidence of the House of Representatives. This individual is typically the parliamentary leader of the political party that holds the largest number of seats in that house. The Prime Minister and Cabinet are collectively accountable for their actions to the Governor-General, to the House of Representatives, to their political party, and ultimately to the national electorate. Originally, the head of government was titled Colonial Secretary or First Minister. This was changed in 1869 to Premier. That title remained in use for more than 30 years, until Richard Seddon informally changed it to Prime Minister in 1901 during his tenure in the office. Following the declaration of New Zealand as a Dominion in 1907, the title of Prime Minister has been used exclusively in English. In Maori, the title Pirimia, meaning Premier, continues to be used. New Zealand Prime Ministers are styled as the Right Honourable, a privilege they retain for life. The Governor-General appoints a Prime Minister, like other ministerial positions, on behalf of the monarch. By the conventions of responsible government, the Governor-General will call to form a government the individual most likely to receive the support or confidence of a majority of the elected members of Parliament. In making this appointment, convention requires the Governor-General to act on the outcome of the electoral process and subsequent discussions between political parties by which the person who will lead the government as Prime Minister is identified. In practice, the position typically falls to an MP who is the parliamentary leader of the largest political party among those forming the government. The Prime Minister may lead a coalition government and/or a minority government dependent on support from smaller parties during confidence in supply votes. Once appointed and sworn in by the Governor-General, the Prime Minister remains in the post until dismissal, resignation, or death in office. He or she, like all ministers, holds office during the pleasure of the Governor-General. So theoretically, the Governor-General can dismiss a Prime Minister at any time. However, convention heavily circumscribes the power to do so. The Governor-General retains reserve powers to dismiss a Prime Minister in certain circumstances, such as those pertaining to a no-confidence motion against the government in the House of Representatives, where a Prime Minister, and by extension the government, can no longer command the confidence of the House, either by losing a confidence vote or as the result of an election. Convention dictates that they should resign. As the Constitution Act 1986 requires general elections every 3 years. This is the maximum period of time that a Prime Minister can serve without their mandate being renewed. The office of Prime Minister is not defined by codified laws, but by unwritten customs known as constitutional conventions which developed in Britain and which New Zealand replicated. These conventions depend for the most part on the underlying principle that the Prime Minister and fellow ministers must not lose the confidence of the democratically elected component of Parliament, the House of Representatives. The Prime Minister is leader of the Cabinet and takes a coordinating role. The Cabinet Manual provides an outline of the Prime Minister's powers and responsibilities. By constitutional convention, the Prime Minister holds formal power to advise the sovereign. This means that as long as the Prime Minister has the confidence of Parliament, they alone may advise the monarch on. As head of government, the Prime Minister alone has the right to advise the Governor-General to Convention regards the Prime Minister as first among equals. A Prime Minister does hold the most senior post in government, but must also adhere to any decisions taken by Cabinet. As per the Convention of Collective Ministerial Responsibility, the actual ability of a Prime Minister to give direct orders is largely limited. Most of the position's power comes about through Attemp.